Hi, welcome to our podcast, The Indian Insider. Today we have Bharat Ranka with us. He's like a brother to me. And we're going to be discussing topics like Anekanthvada, which is like a theory of reality, and business. We're going to be discussing his appearance on actually Shark Tank and how he dealt with his experience and what input he got from actually being on Shark Tank. We're going to be discussing fun topics like cricket and Gautam Gambhir. How is Gautam Gambhir actually good for Indian cricket? How India is actually reconstructing in terms of cricket. And we're going to deep dive into conversations which relate to spirituality, religion, whether Jainism is a part of Hinduism, and much more. So dive in to our conversation today. I'm super excited because these are kind of conversation I really enjoy, which are super authentic. And even I'll share my personal experiences towards what he's saying. So yeah, have fun guys. Enjoy the podcast. Looking forward for your comments, your views, your likes. So enjoy. So firstly, Bharat bhai, thank you for coming today. And I know how you came today. It was a mere message. I was sitting there. I was like, I want you to come on my podcast. I was like, you don't have a choice.
Exactly.
And you showed up.
Yeah, I had to. I think it would be good talking because we always do, but this time just in front of camera. But I thought if we could keep it as organic as we always do, I think this could be worthwhile for all of us.
Yeah, we don't have like superficial conversations ever, do we? Every time we are speaking, it has some depth to it.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the conversations that I recollect that we've had, I don't know if you can call it depth, you can call it a certain sensitivity to life or a certain empathy, but there's something to take back from the conversation more often than not. So yeah, that's how I look at the talks that we've had so far.
So we know each other through our uncle, right? My
Yeah.
uncle, not your.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
he uncle?
मैं भी uncle ही बुलाता हूँ.
Uncle ही बुलाते हैं ना. I remember sitting in his office that day.
Yeah.
And I saw you.
जी.
And I was like, I've seen this guy somewhere. And I told you, I'm like, I've seen you somewhere. I don't know where because I'm good at faces, but I can't place you.
Uh-huh. I think that was the first conversation we had. Office पे था मैं और आप आए थे and we just hit it off ना. I think उसके बाद तुमने बात भी काफी लंबी चौड़ी कर ली थी. I think we spoke for a few hours if I'm right ना. First या second meeting में लंबा बात किया था अपन ने.
हाँ, we kept going. Chacha I think came late.
हाँ.
And then we were just sitting there and discussing.
Yeah.
I was also waiting for him to come.
हाँ.
And we start talking.
True.
Okay, so get one conversation right
Okay.
out, right?
Yeah.
Because I know you don't like talking about it because you don't want your life to revolve around just one appearance on Shark Tank,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just like you say, it's a milestone for you, and it's not end all.
Yeah.
Right? It's not your highlight of your life.
True. It's not what's going to define my life.
Absolutely, I know that for sure.
Yeah.
Right? How much I know you, I know that
Yeah.
for sure. Tell me, how was your experience when? Because I remember we discussed it, okay? When you went to the tank came out, we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
I think we met months later.
Yeah. आराम से उसके 8-10 महीने बाद ही मिले अपन मिले भी है तो or at least a year maybe after that.
Correct. And for a normal person perspective, okay, it's like being made fun of in front of the whole country, right? In a way. Am I right? It's just a view. Like having such an experience when things didn't work out as planned, at least. Right? You obviously went in to get an investment, but it didn't happen.
True.
And other way, like I found it really funny when he called that you were a shark because you had acquired your brand ethic, right? So and then you didn't end up getting an investment, and it was the introduction episode of that particular episode.
Yeah, it was
It
the start intro segment. Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Like how do you deal with something not that positive happening towards you, and then especially in front of the whole India, and then when I see you discussing about it, as we have discussed earlier, you have a very positive view towards it. Right? How does that happen?
I think it is a realistic view that I have to it, right? I don't look at it कि यार मैं इसमें से अच्छा क्या निकालूं, because कुछ चीज़ें हुई थी during the course of the episode and after it aired and everything. What had to happen happened. I think realistically जो हुआ वो ये हुआ कि प्रोडक्ट को बहुत तारीफ मिली, right? Which is the biggest validation for an entrepreneur. आप क्या बना रहे हो, आप क्या बेच रहे हो, आपका क्या आइडिया है, उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट है, उसको बहुत अच्छा वैलिडेशन मिला. If anyone was to revisit the episode, they would see that all 5 sharks unanimously found the product to be excellent, great craftsmanship, great styling, and they were surprised to know that it's not leather. So I think realistically ये हुआ, product को बहुत सराहना मिली. And as entrepreneurs, they found flaws in our working style, our work ethic, the way we approach the business, which I think is fair. I mean, उसमें क्या बड़ी बात है? I mean, business है, businessman है, ये feedback तो जिंदगी भर चलता रहता है, right? I mean, there are MNCs, there are billion-dollar corporations that are prone to making errors, no matter how big or how small they are. So I think that was just pure feedback. That was pure feedback at that point in time. That feedback, based on whatever context the judges had, वो उनका feedback था. And of course, we were kind of let down that we couldn't do justice to the brand that we represent. But I think the brand or the idea and the cause that we were representing really lifted us up. And, you know, right after the show aired, and there's this very famous saying that I came across, that it doesn't matter whether you won gold or silver. What matters is I've got a family back home who's welcoming me irrespective. And that's exactly what happened. I think me and Pankaj, we found support from close quarters, from friends who were cheering us on. And then from the general public, we started watching a video on YouTube, which now I think has collectively, our pitch has 30 million views, right? On YouTube alone. I mean, that kind of publicity, that kind of promotion, that kind of brand outreach. I'm talking realistic. I'm not even talking positive. ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि यार कितनी अच्छी बात हुई, ये हुआ है. So I have a very realistic view to it कि ये बहुत अच्छा हुआ, ये जो भी हुआ. And what is the harm in being called out for something that we may not have done rightly, or based on the limited context that the judges on the show had? I think it made us more aware. If there could have been a bigger wake-up call, then it was that there are some fundamentals that we are going wrong with, and I think we took it in our stride. I don't think Pankaj or myself were in any denial after the show aired कि यार ये क्यों हुआ, ये कैसे हुआ, let's sit and cry about it. एक दिन उसके लिए रोने के लिए रखते, वैसा तो था नहीं. So I think it just panned out very well, and I have a very realistic view to it. 3 करोड़ व्यूज आप दुनिया के देखने के लिए है सामने. हमने जो क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट्स बनाए, वो जो हमारे कस्टमर्स यूज कर रहे हैं उनके देखने के लिए. ब्रांड आज भी हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं टू टेक द ब्रांड आउट देयर एंड get it the success it deserves. A brand like Ethic, the recognition, the accessibility that it deserves, we're doing everything well within our powers to make that happen. So Shark Tank is a very, very important milestone in my entrepreneurial journey, is how I would put it. It put us out there in the limelight. It put us to intense scrutiny. But I think we came through unscathed. Or maybe we came through with a few bruises, but I think that's what makes it beautiful going ahead.
Yeah, I feel like you give yourself very less credit for how you view it and how you see reality as well, right? I mean, as reality is, because when things don't go right for somebody, right, it's very hard for them to be in reality, because the mind takes over. You're analyzing that on your own. You have your own judgment towards it. But being so like putting the issue at one side, putting yourself at one side and looking at it in a very open perspective, I don't think that's easy, and you have that in you to actually look at it. Have you seen a lot of people, like you said, right? You came out with a lot of gratitude to see what do you really have in your life. Your family is what is most important to you. They're the source for you, right?
True.
Source in terms of your mental health, source in terms of you being happy in life. It really is where you get your energy from to do absolutely anything and everything. True. So family can not just be like your wife, your parents, even your close set of friends who you discuss breakdowns with, right?
Sure.
So I feel like you should give yourself so much more credit when it comes to it. But 3 crore views is awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, how much would we have to pay to buy that? No, forget that. 3 crore views on YouTube is one thing. 15 minutes of primetime Sony television.
Yeah.
For our brand and for us. I mean, you can't buy that kind of screen time. You can't buy that kind of... How likely is it that you would have one of the sharks on the show just to review your products, right? And they did all of that. So like I said, it's all very realistic. But, taking off from where you just landed with this question, I mean, I have been way more let down in business or in the various businesses that I'm part of, in a consulting or in an investing or in a working capacity, I've been more let down by a closed circle. Say 5 people can let me down more than 5 crore people can. So, the way you look at it is, I mean, being on national television, being scrutinized that way and getting that kind of constructive critical feedback couldn't do shit to me. But compared to working in a closed circle with some people that are very important to the work getting through, and when you don't get that kind of support, I think that really can take a very big toll on you. So again, that's where the theory of Anekanthvada, which I've been telling you about, ever since we started discussing this episode, is the same person reacting so differently to pretty much the same context.
You need to start with defining what that is. Anekanthvada.
Yeah.
Actually, I got the name right.
See,
finally.
I think it is my basic understanding of Jainism. I think it is what preaches Jains to be tolerant, right? I would not say it is what makes Jains tolerant, because that would be a very generalized statement. And I mean, that one word is what is my deep dive into Jainism, right? I don't know what it means, but I can tell you how it manifests itself in my life. Because if a Tirthankara could conceive it, then I think for a mere mortal like me, with my own flaws and everything, it would be very foolhardy for me to try and make some sense out of it. But how it manifests in my life is, I'm always willing to give people a second chance. I'm always willing to understand that a person might have done or said something because of the way he perceives things, the same thing that I perceived differently. So I am very accommodative of other people's reality. So I think this is how Anekanthvada plays out in my life. It is a means to be more tolerant. It is a means to be more empathetic. It is a means to really, really, really try for once to put yourself in the other person's shoes, which is easier said than done. It teaches you patience. It teaches you a lot of patience, actually. I think that's what it has done to me. I really don't know what it means, but of course, that story is very famous that, once in ancient India, there was an elephant and there were 6 men who were tied. They blindfolded them.
They're blindfolded, but they're blind.
No, they were either blindfolded or blind, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, to same hi ho jata hai. And they were just given different parts of the elephant to touch and say what they felt it is, right? Someone felt X, someone felt Y. But the fact is, the whole truth was something else. And that's what we as humans do. We never really perceive the whole truth, because for that, you kind of need to be omniscient and whatnot. Like, attributes that are maybe beyond our reach as we speak. So that's how Anekantavada manifests itself in my life. It makes me calm, patient, more forgiving of other people's mistakes, and more forgiving of what I have ended up doing also.
Damn, man, this is something I think in life, right? I feel like everything comes to me at the right time when I'm ready for it. And you said that let's discuss this today, and I was like, wait, what is this, right? And that's something I'm really dealing with personally, like to be compassionate. I've become very rude and arrogant nowadays, right? And I'm not able to generate compassion, like you say. I can't generate compassion at all, and then a lot of my relationships don't work because I just have such a straight view and I believe in my view so much that when someone else is actually sharing their view, I'm not really listening. And even more than not even just listening, I go to a space where their view doesn't matter because I'm very clear on how things are for me. So this is something I'm actually going to deep dive into to understand more of. And there was one more thing actually,
There's another. There are multiple.
This is theory of reality.
Yeah. Then there's Syadvad.
Yeah, that is the theory of judgment.
Maybe. I mean, like I said, I've never read up on these things.
Yeah.
I just vibrated very well with that word, Anekantavada, and it kind of became the center of my understanding of Jainism. So I didn't really have to read up much on it, to be honest. The understanding that Anekantavada is to understand there are multiple truths, and each person has their own version of truth was enough for me. And then I think all my study was self-study. self-study. I don't think I've ever deep dived into Anekanthvada as a theory, or as a reading material, or as a literature or subject that I want to.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna find a book. I'll order 2 copies. I'll give you one. I'm serious.
Yeah, sure.
Let's sit and
Sure,
actually
sure.
go through something, because it's gonna
Yeah.
make our life easy.
Yeah. It sure does. It sure does. You can be lighter. You can be. I think you can move around more freely. When you create that space for other people to be the way they want to be, irrespective of whether that matches with your set of
Expectations.
principles or behavior or not, I think I don't know if it's necessary to live a good life or not. That I don't know. Every person is entitled to be the way they are. But I think it would be nice if all of us could accommodate each other's opinions. There's a very wonderful book, Maulana Rumi की एक story है या कुछ है. He and one of his friends from another religion are discussing religion, and the other friend says, whatever religion he believes in, he keeps on talking about that religion and why not Rumi, I don't remember who that guy was, but he keeps on telling him कि you should take up my religion. ये बहुत सही है, ये बहुत सही है, यही this is the divine entity that you should be praying to, believing in.
This is the truth.
And I think Maulana Rumi says कि sorry, I don't agree with you. And then what happens is, okay, ठीक है, don't agree. And both of them continue with the work that they were doing. Someone put their point, someone had the gut and the gumption to not agree with it, and that did not lead to any friction. You can try, but it's not necessary that you can enroll the other person always. So I think that's another good story that I've read. I don't remember the source, but it was a good story that I read. Again, you could be hell-bent on proving a point, but it's not necessarily the other person agrees to it.
But see, even when you think about it, don't you think you should put oxygen on yourself before you help other people? For instance, to enroll somebody per se, to even enroll yourself, first you need to take care of yourself, right? Only when I feel like there are 2 ways to looking at life, right? Helping somebody or supporting somebody. I'm really against helping somebody. You should not help people. You should support them. For instance, someone really is dealing with finding a good job, right? I wouldn't say give him a job. I would tell you that give him an opportunity for a job. Let him step up and take it. Because if you just hand over something to somebody, when they're not ready for it, they're just going to ruin it. What do you think?
I don't have a set mindset on it कि ये ऐसे होना चाहिए, ऐसे होना चाहिए. But what I have kind of realized, Sid, is that sometimes a person is actually in need of help and devoid of any sort of impetus to believe that he himself can make a difference with some support. I've seen that sometimes people are just so down and out, that sometimes they need a helping hand to lift them up rather than someone who's just being a cushion. कि support तू चल आगे, तू पीछे है तो मैं हूँ, मैंने हाथ रखा, you're not going to fall off. Sometimes people are so devoid of any sort of optimism or hope. Hope is a beautiful word that I really believe in. Sometimes people are just so devoid of hope na, that first you have to create some magic for them. पहले तुम्हें उनको कुछ जादू दिखाना पड़ता है for them to start believing again. Belief से ही शुरू होगा कि वो initiative ले पाएगा. So the key word here is initiative. आप सपोर्ट उसको कर सकते हो जो इनिशिएटिव ले रहा है, बट ऐसे भी बहुत लोग हैं दुनिया में, संसार में, जो इनिशिएटिव ही नहीं ले पा रहे हैं. दे आर नॉट एबल टू गेट देमसेल्व्स आउट ऑफ दैट रट. बट आई थिंक व्हाट यू राइटली सेड इज सपोर्टिंग इज मेकिंग देम इंडिपेंडेंट, एंड हेल्पिंग देम ओवर एंड ओवर अगेन इज मेकिंग देम डिपेंडेंट, विच इज नॉट द बेस्ट वे टू लुक एट इट. But I think sometimes people, at least not every time, but कभी कभी लोगों को help चाहिए rather than support. तो वो demarcation करना ज़रूरी हो जाता है. Whether a person वो उतना सशक्त है, वो इतना सक्षम है कि वो खुद की मदद खुद कर सकता है या नहीं. And you'll find so many examples here, Sid, कि I mean, now tell me if you come across, say, a 30-year-old beggar, okay, who's not educated, who's not what, and he's 30, okay, and maybe he's got a wife and 2 children, okay. अब आप उसको हेल्प करोगे या सपोर्ट करोगे? आप उसको 2 साल से पढ़ाने में अगर सपोर्ट करोगे तो आर यू गोइंग टू टेक केयर ऑफ हिज फैमिली टिल देन? वो एक तरह से हेल्प ही हुई. सो इट इज मोर अबाउट उस टाइम पे क्या ज्यादा जरूरी है. शुड आई जस्ट फर्स्ट अपलिफ्ट हिम अ लिटिल बिट and then maybe support him so that he's not dependent in the future? But then again, a very, very subjective way to look at it.
Yeah, even depends on your own bandwidth, right?
Haan.
Right. If I'm really preoccupied with 100 things and I don't have the bandwidth to actually go genuinely help somebody, then do how much my bandwidth allows me to do.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I say it is because what I've seen is when you really help people, it comes back and bites you in your ass, right? Because you don't have the bandwidth to handle anything at that point. And then they become over dependent on you on every move, right? There have been a lot of, like you said, 30-year-old, right? So I had like this 21-year-old guy who said, I'm so confused in life. I want to be studying. But my father, the thing with my father is like, he's not able to pay my fees.
Okay.
And then he would say that, now I want to work. But then if I work, I don't know what kind of work I should be doing right now. I should be doing a course before that to qualify to do some special kind of work. But nothing seems to fall to place. And I sat with him, I said, man, you're not confused. Right? Confusion is a way of you not taking responsibility. Right? You just want to be confused because now if you make a choice, you have to take responsibility for that choice. So I said, see, you want to go into college a year later. Your father's not able to actually support you financially right now. So why don't you take up a job for a year? Right? Manage your expenses. Save up enough money, then apply for that engineering college you want to go to, right? I'm like, what support do you need right now for the job? He's like, where do I get a job? I said, reach out to me. There's a buddy of mine who does the same IT kind of work that you're interested in.
Okay.
I'll get into a direct interview. Speak with him and see what you can make of it. If not, ask him any other connect that he has. He will 100% support you to get more connect, right? And guess what? That guy never reached out to me.
He never reached out. Matlab he got what he wanted, yeah?
No, he got that he was confused in life.
Acha. Okay.
He was not making a choice. But he never reached out to me for the job. He never reached out to me for that connect. Do you see? And I've already spoken to my friend, told him, hey, there's this person who's really interested. Right? When he reaches out to me, I will reach out to you for sure.
Like you laid it down for him, you set it up for him, but maybe at that time his receptivity was only towards sorting out his confusion, knowing that he's confused. Maybe then that's why they say right place, right time, right thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay, brings us to the mental health conversation, right? So a lot of people do suffer from mental issues, right? Not just like medically diagnosed, but like, you know, we're analytical people. We analyze. And when things don't go well, we overanalyze. And we actually self-inflict any kind of mental pain to ourselves. Right? How do you suggest someone firstly understands they're dealing with something which is related to mental health? I know you're not an expert, but like you can share your own background experience actually. How do you heal from it?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for anyone who's not an expert to talk about mental health only from their own standpoint.
Yeah.
Rather than giving out generic advice which could do more harm than good and without, again, context, right?
Yeah.
So
context is key.
Yeah. I think we live in stressful times here. And I think a lot of that stress is amplified by also the stuff that we see on social media. The insecurities that we live with for the longest time, the traumas that are not dealt with, the healing that has been, in the waiting for the longest time, but we've not paid enough attention to it.
Give me an example, like what is that something that you're insecure about?
Yeah, I mean, see, you could be insecure about your health. I think a lot of people have health anxiety, right? And yeah, I mean, they don't realize, but it kind of starts eating into you bit by bit, and slowly it kind of destabilizes you, where you are worried, if I do X, kya hoga? If I eat Y, kya hoga? Because you've got so many questions in your head and no way out, right? It's a puzzle that is very tough to get out of. But of course, there's always, I believe with some grace falling upon you, there's always a way out. of things. So I think one of the most appropriate things to do is to really find a safe space. There's also this book that is my all-time favorite, The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, and the Horse. It is a book which is purely visual, and each page has only one line, right? And I think it is one of the best self-help, management, healing books out there. It's also a short film, like a 30-minute film that Apple TV produced with the author of this book, The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, and the Horse. So I think one of the characters asks the other character, "What is the bravest thing that you've ever done?" So the other guy replies, "Asking for help." Yeah. So I mean, that blows my mind every time I read it, and I was like, yeah, it comes from a place of so much empowerment, right? Rather than desperation or giving up. So that try to find a safe space, because जब आप ऐसे space में रहोगे तब ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपको अपने immediate खास लोगों में वो space मिले. Your parents might not understand, your spouse might not understand, your partner might not understand, your colleagues might not understand, your closest friends might not understand. ऐसे टाइम पे आप कहाँ जा सकते हो? People also try speaking to God or any entity that they believe in. Sometimes that does give headway, right? It sure does. But if none of that is working, then where do you find your safe space? Where you can be not judged for everything that's plaguing your mind and everything that you want to just puke out, right? I mean, all of that toxicity that you desperately want to get out of your system.
Yeah, you need to empty yourself.
Yes.
So where do you find it?
Yeah, I mean, so I think a good space for that is, of course, counseling or therapy. You try speaking to, see, this is theory at the end of the day, right? There is the brain in itself, the mind in itself is subject to so much research that there is so much analysis that has been coming out for the last few decades, right? So these guys are also trained to identify patterns, to understand where self-sabotage is happening, where what is happening, what's not. So based on these patterns, they also have remedial measures or rehabilitation programs or protocols that they help you with, right? So it also depends on the intensity of what you're going through. Sometimes, I don't know, but I've heard that medication is the only way forward. Like while everything else becomes support, like counseling becomes support, and then medication, comes at the forefront. But with, God's grace, people might not have to go the medication way, because medication eventually creates some sort of dependency, I think. Again, I'm not a medical expert, and I think they might be there for a reason. These meds and all, they must be helping people who are going through some severe trauma or who are not able to really get out of the doom that they've created for themselves. But I think the right space to start from is always finding a safe space. And you'll find that within family, with self-help groups, with communities, with mental health professionals. I think mental health eventually comes down to resilience. I think that is one paramount quality that you need to have, is to be resilient. Like, I am bigger than this, or I am better than this, and I deserve to get out of this, come out of this rut that is created. And I think that resilience is what pushes you back by 10 steps when something pushes you down by 2 steps. Like, you can come back that much harder, not necessarily in a very aggressive stance, but also in a very cold-blooded, calculative way also. That's just how resilience works. It's like that muscle. Like, jitna usko piche push karte utna, or like that resistance band, the more you push it behind, when it takes you ahead, it's going to carry that entire weight with it, right? So I think resilience is purely a person's character. I think if you have that, you can build it. I don't think it is something which is like not DNA driven, I think, that way, but I think you can work on it, build it, and kind of nurture it also to be resilient. Yeah.
With resilience, I remember, and even just a conversation that I used to have about myself, and I realized this like 2 weeks ago. Okay. So exactly like you said, like a self-help group or a community that really supports you mentally, right? So even I'm part of such a community, right? You know what I'm talking about. Let's not take names, but like, right? I don't want to be marketing a business, right? So the whole conversation I used to have about myself is, I'm not good enough. That's my mental conversation. Every day I wake up, I'm like, I'm not good enough. I have to prove something, right? You know, maybe I'm not fit enough. Maybe I'm not capable enough, right? I'm not a good lawyer, maybe. Maybe why am I running a law firm? Like, am I capable enough to handle these cases? Am I a good enough son? Like, my father's never that really happy. He always has something to complain about, right? That's the view of life when I say I'm not good enough. And the other view is I'm awesome. Why not?
True.
Right? I'm amazing, I'm awesome, and I live in that space. In that space, when things don't work, what happens is I see that circumstance or that time or whatever barriers that coming as just a barrier. That it's not a good time right now. Things didn't work out right now. That's okay. It's just what it is. Now, next, what am I gonna do? So the mind just shifts automatically, and that also is built, like how you said, resilience. Because now I've had this conversation for 30 years that I'm not good enough, and suddenly I've realized that this is my conversation about myself, that I'm not good enough. So now I need to build the whole conversation that I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome every day, every minute, every time that I'm not good enough comes, I need to replace it. And then you build resilience to do something in the future.
True. And I think this conversation, I think every human being has. What do you think makes an Elon Musk outdo himself every morning? I think he also feels he's not good enough. I think I may be wrong, like I'm wrong about a lot of things, but possible है ना यार कि वो भी, वरना यार he is the richest man in the world, he's implanting chips in human brains and all of that. He's trying to really make a paradigm shift in the consciousness of humanity in general. But what drives him? Maybe these are the thoughts that drive you, or that let you feel कि नहीं, there's more to my potential. So again, having a very realistic outlook to it. I think over the years, my perception has shifted from optimism to having a more realistic grip of things, because just this overtly optimistic lens can also is also not realistic, right? I mean, eventually you're living reality ना, यही चीजें possible है, यही controllables है, यही uncontrollables है. अब कल मैं बोल दूँ optimistically, I want to be immortal. Is there anything in physics? Is there anything in biology that can kind of make that possible? No. In the realm of what's possible right now is this. So I mean, I think every person has these thoughts when they wake up in the morning, and I think it's just again what you do with those thoughts, like what you do with a Shark Tank experience, what you do with these thoughts that you have in the morning. And I think it's very normal for a person to not be able to do anything few days. मतलब नहीं हो रहा है, वो नहीं kick in हो रहा है, वो aggression नहीं आ रहा है, या वो clarity नहीं आ रही है कि मैं इससे deal कैसे करूँ. It's very normal to be cowed down by it. It's also very acceptable to not make much headway. But that awareness is important कि मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, at least I'm thinking about it, and when that moment occurs, I'm going to capitalize on it. I think that makes sense.
Got it. You want to shift the topic a bit? To something more light?
Yeah. Light is good. Light is good, right?
Because life is not that significant, right? We can be having these serious conversations and next moment just laugh at each other. Like,
it's again one of my favorite sayings, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah?
Ignorance is bliss. I really, really feel that. And that's something that, my counselor had also has metaphorically or directly put it across to me, that it's not necessary that, it's only the industrialist or the successful people who are happy. It can actually be your village idiot who is absolutely happy in its purest form and sense. They don't understand geopolitics, they don't understand science, they don't understand a lot of things. But the sheer fact that they have only so much to think about and worry about is what also makes them very focused to those 3-4 things which are in their control. So I think ignorance is bliss. I really, really respect that statement. I mean, I think it's very profound.
सही है भाई, मतलब abundance में भी हम कमी ढूंढते हैं यहाँ पे, right?
Yeah, the more sensitivity ना, आप कितने sensitive हो हर चीज को लेके, and then आप कितने ignorant हो, आप कितने awareness तो मैं नहीं कहूँगा, but आप कितने ignorant हो किसी चीज को लेके, तो you have those many less things to worry about, bother about. And I think eventually what fuels performance? Controllables. आप कितनी चीज, और आप अगर आप 100 चीज कंट्रोल करने की ट्राई कर रहे हो,
नहीं होगा.
from your backyard, so it's going to be difficult. So yeah, lighter is a good shift.
Chalo, lighter note pe fir.
Yeah.
What do you think about Gautam Gambhir being the coach of Indian team? I love it.
You love it?
I love it. I love him. I love it. I love his mindset. But like, and we got like screwed, right?
Yeah,
we
yeah,
lost
we
to
did.
Sri Lanka in a ODI.
Yeah, after what, 27 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on that?
See, I do follow the sport a lot. I'll be very honest. There are some series that I just feel are very inconsequential and I just don't like to watch them. In the sense that, यार मुझे लगता है 4 ही कंट्रीज के गेम्स देखने के लायक है. इंडिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, साउथ अफ्रीका, न्यूजीलैंड, इंग्लैंड. ये 4-5 टीम्स. Everyone else is punching above their weight, I feel, or not punching above their weight rather. So मेरा ध्यान नहीं था इस सीरीज पे. लाइक ठीक है, मतलब रिकॉर्ड्स बनाने हैं तो इनवाइट करते हैं, कभी वेस्ट इंडीज को बुलाते हैं कि चलो अब पेलेंगे इनको,
सचिन को रिटायर
400 500 600 बनाएंगे, you know. Some I don't see the sense in it, but maybe in the larger picture it makes sense that, you know, these established nations call these not so financially well to do cricket bodies to come for tournaments so that they can also make some money, and this doesn't just remain a monopoly of 4-5 countries, right? I think larger sense में जो इसको चला रहे, जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ICC वगैरह संभालता है, वो शायद जरूरी होगा. बट यार श्रीलंका सीरीज को लेके मेरा कोई एक्सपेक्टेशन नहीं था. आई थॉट दिस गोइंग टू बी अ केक वॉक एंड आई वाज वेरी सरप्राइज्ड दैट वी लॉस्ट. बट फ्रॉम एवरीथिंग दैट आई हैव रेड एंड गैदर्ड, इट लुक्स लाइक अ कैलकुलेटेड मूव, लाइक इन द सेंस दैट they kind of wanted to hit rock bottom. I mean, and they can now build on this. So, you know, you have to deconstruct something to make it again. So I think that deconstruction has happened in the series. I don't know if it's enough time or not, just 6 matches, 3 T20s and 3 ODIs. I think T20s was a very different ball game. There was a 20 over temperament that you need to have versus a 50 over, right? And also it was important preparation before next year's Champions Trophy, I think. And we are only playing 6 ODIs. 3 अभी हो गए और इस साल में हमारा और कोई ODI नहीं हो रहा है. अगले 3, हाँ, एक भी ODI नहीं है. I read that yesterday only, but 6 ODI है चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी के पहले, so not enough game time. तो कब एक्सपेरिमेंट करोगे? यही टाइम था शायद करने के लिए. मे बी, आई मीन, you can critique the team selection, the strategy and all, but maybe they had the larger picture in mind. They were like, यार 6 ODI है, खेलने को combination समझ लेते हैं, ये कर. And you have to give that to the captain and to the coach के उन्होंने यही सोच के किया होगा होपफुली. एंड इवेंचुअली क्या है, चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी कल जीत गए तो यही होगा. आई मीन, देन रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली बोलेंगे हाँ ये किया था इसलिए ये हुआ. बट आई थिंक it was nice. Honestly, it was nice to see Sri Lanka win.
I swear, man, I didn't feel bad about it.
I didn't feel bad because it was nice in the sense कि ठीक है यार, like ये हर इंसान में होता है. अंडरडॉग के लिए एक अंदर से पुकार होती है कि यार अंडरडॉग,
अफगानिस्तान ले लो, श्रीलंका ले लो.
Like you feel happy. Sri Lanka was a stalwart when Kumar Sangakkara, Mahila Jayawardene, Sana Jayasuriya and all of these. Like they had names at par with India's Fab Four: Saurabh, Sachin, VVS Lakshman, Rahul Dravid. So they had names at par in terms of their range of shots, what they've done to cricket in terms of their impact. And now,
went like a India B side back in the day, no?
yeah, that's true. But हाँ यार वही बात है. I was happy. चलो they have something to. It's important यार. I mean, कंपटीशन चाहिए ना. स्पोर्ट्स को इंटेंस क्या बनाता है. यू नो, आई रिमेंबर IPL में जसप्रीत बुमराह ने एक बहुत अच्छी चीज़ कही थी. ये वाला जो IPL हुआ ना, इसमें बहुत हाई स्कोरिंग गेम्स हो रहे थे. कंसेक्यूटिवली 250 मारी जा रही है, टीम्स चेस भी हो रहा है. फिर उसके बाद में ना सडन एक शिफ्ट आया IPL की ट्रैजेक्टरी में कि डिफेंड होने लगे स्कोर्स और लो स्कोरिंग गेम्स होने लगे. तभी जसप्रीत बुमराह ने क्या बोला, इट इज क्रिकेट ओनली व्हेन इट इज बैट वर्सेस बॉल and not bat versus bat. That's not cricket. So it was nice to see this entire, you know, thing shaping up and pure cricket happening. And that's good for the game. That's good for the watchers. That's good for the purists also. Someone who's seen the game for the last 30 odd years and who've seen how laborious test cricket used to be back in the day to now when pretty much every match is short to have a result. So I'm happy that Sri Lanka won. I also hope that India has tried all the combinations they wanted to, and I hope that we get some more reasons to celebrate next year at the Champions Trophy.
I mean, if you only have 6 ODIs, I don't see it happening positively. But other question was, what about Gautam Gambhir being the new coach?
See, honestly, I am very, very neutral to that. With Dravid, I had a particular liking for him because I really wanted him to win. Like, because he has been a servant. a proper servant of Indian cricket. And I've never even thought about servant in a derogatory sense. Okay, I've always thought that servant is
the
a
game.
server, is someone
Yeah,
who
yeah.
serves, right?
Man
Even
of
even like
service,
your house
yeah.
help, like that way, right? Serving without much applause or recognition, right? So with Dravid, मेरा एक personal वो था कि यार I hope he signs off, well, because you never know when he's going to get a second stint to coach India or any other country for that matter. With Gambhir, honestly, I'm very neutral. I think it was he just won the IPL with KKR after a long hiatus. I think KKR बहुत सालों से कुछ जीता नहीं था. So that put him in contention. I'm not sure कि और जो लोग running में थे. I think WV Raman was also in contention. He applied for the position of the coach, but I think Gambhir's credentials outdid what the other candidates had. I think it was going with the flow. Matlab, he just won the IPL with KKR, so let's some important series coming up, Champions Trophy, maybe World Cup happening next. Maybe a transition of players with Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli on the last legs of their careers. Maybe another 3 years, best fitness 4 years. But then you need that coach to really have that mentality to try and bring in new players, give people consistent chances, like perhaps what he's trying to do with Riyan Parag, Shivam Dubey, try to cultivate more all-rounders. So I think that could have been the logic when they signed him up, but others have been pretty neutral. I mean, once the results start speaking, maybe then I will have more of an opinion.
One thing I actually like about Gambhir, he has no looking good at all. He's an authentic guy. Says it as it is, might be right, might be wrong, doesn't really matter. And when he actually makes errors, he'll come and I'm pretty certain as a guy will come back and apologize. Right? And that's what we need for Indian cricket right now. Not a person who's pretending to be neutral. We had Ravi Shastri back in the day who was very vocal about his coaching.
Yeah.
Now we have Gambhir who does the same. And more than anything, cricket is a team game.
Yeah.
Right? The whole team needs to come together to win.
Sure.
You see a lot of times when we lose finals, it is either one department which is not clicking. So usually for the longest time it was bowling. Especially when Bumrah was injured for a long time, right? And then you had teams like New Zealand who's consistently performing. South Africa, it's like RCB, right? Proper chokers. Sad. Even I'm an RCB supporter. You?
I just love runs. जो भी run बना रहा, I'm supporting them on that day.
Neutral.
IPL के case में I'm neutral. Yeah, that's true.
And Sri Lanka winning was a team winning. You see how they all came together.
Rallied around.
They were all focused on just, they didn't care who it was. They didn't care for Kohli. You saw the aggression against Kohli. You didn't see the series, but they had amazing aggression against Kohli as well. They don't care, man. That's what a team is. You're a team on the ground. Literally, let's do whatever needs to be done. And outside the ground, just have fun. So I think Gambhir is like an amazing addition and I'm very excited to see.
I hope it plays out that way. I think anything that does more to our trophy cabinet is welcome.
World Cup.
In anyone,
We need the 50 or 50.
Yeah, I think it's been a while. It's been 14 years now. And I think by the time the next World Cup happens, it'll be 15, 16 years. So
Yeah,
I think
2011
में जीते थे ना? हाँ, it's long due.
I hope I can let go of one more World Cup if RCB wins the next.
अबे भाई. You put a lot of expectations now on RCB. I think they're going to choke under that pressure, boss. तो बोला World Cup छोड़ दूंगा एक. My goodness.
Proper mega auction होने वाला है.
हाँ. Looks like, yeah.
Okay. So something coming back to, as Indians said, how important for us it is to actually be aligned with our family values, right? You come from a joint family,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you obviously have your own identity,
Ji.
right? And then I think your background is to invest.
Yeah.
You came from being a copywriter, from the advertising marketing,
Yeah.
and then you
Brand consultant now.
Yeah.
I've done investments in the past that I'm nurturing and consulting now. Yeah.
right? And in between all that, your family.
Yeah.
And how do you manage that? Because a lot of people, right, who are really successful in business or profession, like I'm a lawyer, right? So I see a lot of senior lawyers. Their marriages don't work, man. They're not able to manage the time. And as a businessman, you're supposed to be free, actually. right? You're not supposed to be busy as a businessman because most of your work is to make people work or get them aligned to your vision and play that vision out. And then you have joint family in the equation. Lot to manage, huh?
It is, but I think that is the essence of East. I think that is the DNA that has been embedded, deep coded, and then passed on from generations to generation. I think a cohesive family structure is our default setting. I think there's a fair bit of pride in being that way, is because it's indigenous. It's something that was created by our ancestors. I think they were very wise people to have devised that structure, because I think it is a framework. Actually, I don't look at it from a very philosophical level or from a very technical level. I think it's a framework. I think, why is that a framework, right? Because I think being in a large family teaches you interdependence, it teaches you teamwork, it teaches you to take people along, especially like really big joint families like 15, 20, 30 people. I've also known of families where 40, 45 people live together. So I think, what does that teach you? What does that teach you, and how important are those values in today's world is also very important. You see, you just look at it from that structure. How easily are people giving up on each other now? I mean, how easily, right? It's because maybe they've not had the exposure, being in a setting or a setup where they are dealing with multiple people on a daily basis. See, I am not for or against a particular family structure. I think each has its own, and it's what you make of it. I think the ones who are doing wonderfully well in a nuclear setup, kudos to them. I think people who are really leveraging their joint family setup, very, very well done. But I think this teaches you something, and this is something which is our lineage. This is something which has been passed down to generations. Why would it be that way? Is it a framework? Is it a very wisely thought, a very wisely curated collection of people in your life? Like your grandparents have a particular role to play of nurturing, protecting. Your parents have the role for providing, educating. Your siblings have a role to play when it comes to sharing, teaching. Your uncles and aunts are just that additional layer of cushion, which is a very well-rounded thing. Why do you think they say it takes a village to raise a child? What was the wisdom in that saying, right? So I think it is our lineage. I think it is the essence of the East, and I've seen that across cultures in the East. See, if you just watch any Hollywood movie for that matter, I think this is just how the West operates, and fair enough. I mean, that's how the energy in the West works. And, whatever you give focus to is the energy that gets more powerful. So maybe the nuclear setup is what has been really fed very well, in the Western conscious, and that's why it works very well. When it comes to the Eastern conscious, I've seen that consistently, even in some of the movies that I've seen. I think I saw this movie called Crazy Rich Asians, which was about a Singaporean family, right?
Yeah.
What mattered in the end? So, even in that setup, देखो India का story नहीं था, but उसमें भी एक दादी है, माँ बाप है, और the guy is kind of, torn between two worlds, बंदी या मम्मी types, तो आप समझ रहे हो कि ईस्ट का जो ढांचा है, आप ओरिएंटल कल्चर ले लो, चाइनीज कल्चर ले लो, सिंगापोरियन कल्चर ले लो, इंडियन ले लो, maybe even Pakistan, Bangladesh, I don't know, I haven't been to those countries, nor have I read up enough about them, but I feel it's a very East-oriented philosophy. So I think it has a lot to offer, and I think it can teach you to not give up on people. I think one of the best things that this kind of a setup can teach someone is to be available, because I think आपको अच्छा support system मिलता है. Being in a good family setup with people with distinct skills, imagine so much sharing happens, and so much is that amplified and multiplied by someone is into music, someone is into academics, someone is into sports, someone is into business. Imagine how much exchange of information is happening, how much exposure. So I think the keyword here would be the exposure that a joint family system grants you. And I think some of the key traits that it can imbibe in you is patience and acceptance to people being the way they are. And I think then you have more reasons to hold on to someone and to make things work. Although, yeah, things should never get toxic. It should not be at the expense of your mental peace. So I think that is what the joint family system particularly means to me. Again, a very realistic view of how I have experienced it so far.
I mean, that's an amazing view, man. I never looked at it like that because I didn't grow up in a joint family, right? My father already was separate, and then we grew up in a nuclear family, right? And the bandwidth to actually be like, hey, be compassionate towards people, contribute to people. But now I've actually come back, and we're all part of the fam. You know it now,
Of course.
so you get a lot of support. Like a lot of people say कि Jain लोगों में खून में क्या होता है, business होता है. That's not true. खून में नहीं होता, पूरा सपोर्ट स्ट्रक्चर में बिजनेस
पूरा आसपास में ही वैसा होता है ना.
हाँ, तुम्हें बिजनेस में अभी बोल सकता हूँ मेरे चाचा को जाके या पापा को कि यार ये डील ऐसे हुआ वैसे हुआ, इसमें मेरा एक्चुअली इतना वर्कआउट नहीं हुआ. They'll tell नहीं, इतने में करना था, you should have done it in this much money, that much, you would have made this.
ये हो जाता.
Then you create credibility. Now don't focus on actually making money. We got you what you worried about. You create credibility now in the market, trust in the market. And recently I actually had a call with a client, right? Don't want to name the client, but like, one nice thing she said today, she was like, sir, why I came to you? We met 5-6 lawyers, okay? And there's been last 2 clients. We met 5-6 lawyers. You know why we've come to you? Is because of you being authentic and the way you speak. And I know we can trust you. You seem like a genuine person. Like, kya hota hai na? I can be put in a position where I can, on the other side also will come to me to actually crack out a deal or settle something. But they want a trustworthy person in this position, right? So that is what a joint family support system does, actually. Like they give you source of energy. Like I say, I don't have one father, I have 2 fathers, right?
True.
Right? That really helps me.
And I think that much more control also. You see how there's a flip side to everything. You're answerable to everything in every way.
Bro, if I had a choice, I would be in Canada right now, having the best time of my life, becoming a barrister right now. And sometimes I'm like, why am I still in India? And I'm like, I know why am I still here. There are responsibilities that come with you being in a joint family as well. Any breakdown in the family, even if it's not yours, you go. You go and you try
It teaches you a lot of things. I think even the nuclear family setup teaches you a lot of things, like so much independence, so much more. I mean, how do you put it? I've been living in Bangalore by myself for the last 3 years, right? I've always had the comfort of living with my family for a good 30 years of my life. And last 3 years, me and my wife moved to Bangalore, of course, for work, not for any other reasons. But since we've been in Bangalore, the whole idea of responsibility, independence, making your own choices, dealing with the consequences of those choices where you don't have anyone to shield you, I think that's also the beauty of what being by yourself works. It's a bit of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I think you should get to experience being responsible for yourself. Now you do that in a nuclear family setup or through some other arrangements.
Yeah.
But I think that is also a character shaping exercise.
Man, I've done that, man. Like when I was in England living on my own, right? I had to wash my own dishes, clean my own room, right? Take care of my own expenses. It went from having Amma in the house who take care of food and everything. And now next thing I know, I'm washing my own clothes. And my apartment buddies, they're not cleaning up the toilet. So I'm literally like cleaning the toilet. Right? That experience is also awesome. It gives you gratitude for what you have. Till then, it's just like, why is everyone controlling? Why is everyone expecting me to be in a certain way? So that gives you a reality check of what's happening.
It does.
So, what advice do you have for like someone who's into 20s, wants to get into business, right? What kind of books should he be reading? What kind of people should he be surrounding himself with, right? Gone.
I don't think I would have advice for anyone. I've realized that very, very recently, but very strongly. I think how qualified are we to make any kind of advice? When the masters spoke, they spoke with so much omniscience, omnipresence and whatnot. Like they knew everything. And then they could advise something because they had considered all aspects of reality, of truth. So I think I've just lately had this realization that भाई advice नहीं कर सकते, तुम सिर्फ share कर सकते हो कि तुम्हारे साथ क्या हुआ था. I think, so many podcasts happen, so many shows happen where people are asked to advise. I think that's a very wrong way of looking at something. I'm not saying that मत पूछो, but सामने वाले का दर्जा क्या है, वो कितना क्वालिफाइड है, वो कितना सूझबूझ या कितना सुलझा हुआ है, because advice can be really misconstrued and used in the wrong manners. But yeah, I think if you speak about messages or sharing, then I think, see, if you want to get into business, then you've got to understand that business is serious business, right? Business is no monkey business, bhai. I mean, बहुत ही it's a very well-oiled machinery. It's a very nuanced subject. Actually, there's not much to it. There's sale, buy, and profit, right? Eventually, that's what it comes to. But how many people get that? How many people really understand that? Because to enable purchase to happen, or to enable sales to happen, or to enable profit to happen, there's an entire people mechanism that you have to handle. There's HR, there's sourcing, there's production, there's marketing, there's networking, there's distribution channels, there's sales channels, there's maintaining so many stakeholders and whatnot, right? So that's where the nuance comes into play. Ideally, it's just buy, sell, profit. उतना ही है ना धंधा मोटा मोटी तो यार I think have to see if you have that kind of inclination, and like very very valid inclination धंधे की तरफ है या नहीं है. There are some skill sets which are non-negotiables. I think if you want to do business, you need to be very very financially prudent. I think you've got to be good with your numbers. Product तो अच्छा होना चाहिए, उसमें तो कोई दो राय है ही नहीं, because that's what will give you your competitive edge over years. But I think managing your money well is very important. I think some of the other things which another very good saying that I've been coming across a lot of good sayings which resonate very very deeply and strongly with me. If you say no to the wrong money for a very long time, eventually the right money will come to you. So there are shortcuts in life. But does that resonate with your being, with your inner system, with your beliefs, with your principles? And this is something that I strongly believe in. Not like I was born with this. I must have made my own mistakes. I must have tried super accelerating my growth or my success or my trajectory. But I think what has held me in good stead is, I think, kind of consciously avoiding any shortcuts that are out there to be taken. Because if you want to build something sustainable, then it is going to take time. If you want to build something long lasting, then you have to be prepared that the fruits of your labor could actually be enjoyed by your next generation. And this is something that I have thought about very strongly. I've always had this very deep passion to create a very thriving business ecosystem of multiple businesses all working, complementing each other, like more like a family office structure. That's what I work on in my company Baniya Works, where I just manage my family. Baniya Works, yeah, that's what name. Yeah, that's what my company is called, where I do consulting gigs and where I also manage some of my family's investments. And in that मेरा उद्देश्य, मेरा गोल यही रहा है कि यार मैं कुछ ऐसा क्रिएट करूँ जो लॉन्ग लास्टिंग रहे, बहुत ही ऑल परमिएटिंग रहे, सबको इम्पैक्ट करे, सबको सस्टेन करे उस तरीके से. बट यार लेटली मुझे समझ में आया कि मुझे ये जुनून था, ये कितना जल्दी होगा, when am I going to make the most of it? But then I realized यार ऐसी बहुत सारी बिजनेस फैमिलीज है इंडिया में एंड ओवर द वर्ल्ड ऑल्सो, जहाँ पे आपका शायद काम उतना ही है कि यू कैन प्लांट द सीड एंड यू कैन वाटर इट फॉर लाइक अ बैम्बू ट्री. शायद आपका काम उतना ही कि आपको 12 साल तक उस पेड़ का ध्यान रखना है, एंड देन मे बी आप माली नहीं रहोगे. देन मे बी समवन विल कम इन और वो 12 साल तक वो 1 फुट ही बना बैम्बू का पेड़, या सैंडलवुड ले लो आप फॉर दैट मैटर, और उसके बाद में जो 13वें साल से पानी दे रहा है वो हर साल उसको डबल कर रहा है. सो आई थिंक ये भी जब आपको एक बड़ा ओवर आर्चिंग लॉन्ग लास्टिंग एंटरप्राइज खड़ा करना है, तो आपको ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी लेके चलनी पड़ती है कि आप करते रहो व्हाट यू मेंट. एंड अगर आपको उसका भोग लिखा है कि आप उसको भोगोगे, इफ यू विल बी एबल टू एंजॉय द फ्रूट्स ऑफ इट, वेल एंड गुड. बट इफ यू नॉट, दैट डजंट मीन यू आर ऑन द रॉन्ग पाथ. I think वो patience और वो understanding, it's a very deep understanding or a very simple understanding, however way you look at it. But I think the biggest and the best businesses that have been built, the people who started them, the people who built them are not necessarily in this world today enjoying seeing how big those enterprises have become. And I think that has become a very important learning for me. I think that also makes you so much more focused. क्यों क्या होता है, हम हमेशा रिजल्ट से ऑब्सेस्ड होते हैं, और आपको रिजल्ट नहीं मिलेगा तो आपका फोकस भटकेगा ही। बट अगर आप ये समझ के चलो कि शायद रिजल्ट मुझे मेरे जीवन काल में देखने नहीं मिलेगा, या मे बी मैं जो सोच रहा हूँ कि ये बहुत बड़ा ओवरआर्चिंग पेड़ बन जाएगा, और अगर आप सोच लो कि शायद मैं रहूंगा ये होने तक, शायद मैं नहीं भी होऊंगा, तो आप क्या करोगे? आप तो रोज उसको पानी दोगे, खाद दोगे, फर्टिलाइजर दोगे ना। तो जब आप उसको वो अटैचमेंट थोड़ा सा निकाल दो, लाइक सी आई एम टॉकिंग अगेन, मैंने कहा कि मेरे पास एडवाइस नहीं है, मेरे पास मैसेज है, क्योंकि मैं ये चाहता हूँ। I want to create that kind of an enterprise which is long lasting, right? Which will outlive generations of mine. I hope to build something like that, or maybe start building something like that. I don't know if it's a project that I'll be able to complete in my lifetime, but I think from that standpoint, if anyone else out there has a long overarching vision, then realize that the fruits may not be yours to bear or to enjoy. But if you make it rightly, that you would at least leave behind a legacy. And that is how I look at business. I look at business as a chance to leave a very, very, very strong legacy. And that you can shape by yourself through your ethics, through your principles, through the way you do business, through the way you conduct yourself, through the way you take care of your stakeholders, employees and whatnot.
Actions.
So I see it as a legacy building exercise. Yeah.
That's how the life of a brand is, right? You create it, after a point it's not yours.
Yeah.
It's just not, you have to accept that there's no attachment to the brand.
Yeah.
You create it, it has a life of its own.
Yeah.
You go to you become a chairperson of the company.
Yeah.
Then you exit, you become a advisor for the company. And that's it. And then the new CEO, the new chairperson takes it in a new tangent. And just hope that whatever the stand and the vision you have created goes forward.
हाँ यार, ये बात भी सही है ना सिड, आप जो बोल रहे हो कि जब आप किसी चीज़ को इतने क्लोजली बिल्ड करते हो ना, तो उसके साथ बहुत भारी अटैचमेंट हो जाता है आपका। पर कहीं ना कहीं शायद हम ये भी सीखेंगे आगे कि एक बार जब ब्रांड बन जाता है फिर वो सबका हो जाता है, और शायद आपका बायस जिसने द एस्पेक्ट्स दैट वर्कड इन द ब्रांड्स फेवर व्हेन यू वर बिल्डिंग इट may not work. It's like a fertilizer that is required to grow a plant in its initial stages might be detrimental to the plant after it reaches a certain height, that it might need something else.
Yeah.
So I think, that's how I look at it. You very rightly said that you build a brand for yourself, but eventually the brand it belongs to everyone. It belongs to the customers that it touches, the lives that it impacts, and the utility that it offers, and then it starts meaning different things to different people. Anekanthvada. It does. I think like I said, I don't know the theoretical framework and meaning of Anekanthvada, but then I think so rightly condensed ना, मतलब it can mean so many things to so many people, और फिर वो सबका हो ही जाता है. That's true.
I think Anekanthvada somewhere means like something like multiverse of reality or something like that. It's basically a theory of reality. That's it. There are different views to reality, and then we need to take every view in what do you say, in your thought in analyzing what reality actually is, and then you come to reality. Anyway, after you've created the brand and the brand becomes its own, right? And then you exit the company. You're an advisor. Usually the role of the actual founder is only to come back during crisis management when the company is falling. Till then, you let the company automate, like be in automation. That's what I have understood. I was reading up on this. I was going through a course in how to declare something and create it. So for like people, like for example, how this podcast got created was just a mere declaration that we're going to create a podcast and we're going to have a first shoot then. Right? I declared it. Then that time my view opened to, okay, wait, I can't do this on my own, right? I need somebody. I need a partner maybe, right? So I found a partner. Then I was like, wait, we need someone to work on the mic. Got someone for sound. We need someone for the camera. We got someone for camera. You keep taking actions, and that's when you have breakdowns. Things don't work according to how you think it does. Then you keep adding the pieces. And then it becomes automation. Then the podcast or any business, any brand that you've created starts demanding from you. You can't now leave, right? It becomes a part of you.
That's true.
I think the first thing is declare. Just declare कि भाई मैं कर रहा हूँ. हाँ, खुद को नहीं.
ये होगा, ये हो रहा है,
हाँ, ये
whichever way you call it.
किसी को मिल लो क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं, अगले महीने पॉडकास्ट कर रहा हूँ। हाँ, बोल दिया ना अभी।
मैं कहूँगा अगले महीने क्या करें, कुछ नहीं भाई, मेरे फार्म हाउस पे जा रहा हूँ मैं, आइलैंड खरीदा है। No, but I like that. I like that idea. I think words hold a lot of power. I think words are very, very powerful containers of energy, of manifestation, of
the same way
making things
how
happen,
words are powerful, right? A lot of people think like, why is like when you're really abusing somebody, why is that wrong? Because words inherently don't have any meaning, right? We create meanings to it, right? Even like someone calling this a mic, who called it? Someone called it a mic, that's why it's called a mic. So humans gave it meaning. The thing is, the whole question is vibrations. When we're actually abusing somebody or being negative towards somebody, it's not your words that is impacting them. It's the vibrations that are going to them.
Okay.
Right? If we both are here, we have a very calm atmosphere around each other, right? Because we're creating a calm atmosphere for each other. The moment I start like really increasing my voice and getting abusive towards you, for instance, then you're gonna feel that vibration. That's why you say, ignorance is bliss. That's why you should step out whenever you have a negative environment, right?
True. I mean, yeah, that holds true. I think what you said makes a lot of sense. I think words in itself are not very potent, but it's the intention with which you're delivering those words. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Intentions decide the potency of a word that you're putting out there. Makes sense. Sure does.
Fine. I think we went to a whole bandwidth of conversation. But before that, are you religious or spiritual, or are you both?
I think I'm both. I think I've come to realize that I'm both. Again, I think religion is a framework. I think it is a framework, again, put together by very learned people, men and women, who added to the entire beauty of it. I think it's a code of conduct. I think I agree with that theory that religions are essentially a code of conduct which are designed to definitely improve your life. Someone being an atheist is also absolutely fine, because then they believe in not believing in something, so that is still some sort of faith attached to it. So I think I have come to this understanding where I was very confused about religion, to then finding an inlet into spirituality. And again, like I said, I'm nobody to comment on the magnanimity of what spirituality is or what being spiritual is. I have just had some brushes with spirituality through healing, through meditations, through just being, just by sometimes taking someone's help or sometimes helping someone. I think these are my encounters with spirituality, and I think I am a product of both. I think a code of conduct is a good thing. It brings discipline, it brings tenacity, it brings commitment. So I think it's a code of conduct, and I think the actions or the protocols prescribed in a religion are meant to empower a particular part of your being, maybe your flesh, your body, your soul, your heart, or your mind. I think it's a very, very. I don't want to delve on the aspect of people misconstruing religion and then causing all sorts of negativity around it. But I think it's a framework, it's a code of conduct which is meant to do good and only good.
Gives you some structure, fulfilling structure.
Some grounding. Yeah. Agreed, boss. Yeah. And then, like I said, the spiritual aspect is self-discovery. I think one is a way of living, and maybe the other is a way of being.
Yeah.
So I think
being is something which a lot of people don't get actually. Like being, for instance, I realized that I used to be very irresponsible and I had no commitment in my life. That's how I was living my life. And I was blaming life for not working.
Achha.
Then I started being responsible. I say, hey, and your work will get done by 10 p.m. tomorrow.
It will.
And it's 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow. I know it's not getting done. So the responsible thing to do
is to inform the other person.
Inform the person. Right? So to be responsible is to pick up that phone. And be like, hey, I said I will finish the work by a certain time. It's not happening. I need another day. Right? You're not waiting for it. I'm not running away from my responsibility. I'm being responsible. So doing and being is one space a lot of people confuse themselves. People focus a lot on doing.
Doing.
It's actually who you're being, and you attract who you're being.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Two questions to
Makes
end,
sense. It
right?
makes sense. Yeah.
To conclude, like two questions.
Ji.
One is Jainism part of Hinduism? Because a lot of Jains call themselves Hindus, right?
I think it was more from a convenience standpoint because I also think that Jains don't like calling themselves a minority. I feel तो
Yeah.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है क्योंकि हाँ पर मुझे लगता है ये दोनों पैरेलल स्ट्रीम्स थी इंडियन सिविलाइजेशन में. मुझे नहीं लगता कि एनीथिंग हैज कम आउट ऑफ एनीथिंग. In fact, I don't prescribe to the school of thought where they say that one thing has come out of the other. I think these were क्या बोलते हैं, शांति से बाजू बाजू में पनप रहे थे, चल रहे थे. मे बी बहुत वाद विवाद हुए होंगे over the centuries on establishing one's prominence or dominance over the other. But I think in its essence, so they say that Jainism anadi kal se, right? It's from the start of time, from the beginning of time. So I do believe कि वो ज़रूर होगा वैसे ही. एंड हिंदुज़म की जो भी टाइमलाइन है वो जब से है, जहाँ से है, वो तब होगा तब से ही. मतलब मुझे नहीं लगता कि one has to do anything with the other. So that's
Just
my
yeah,
stance
to make
on
it simple.
that's my stance.
Like, I agree, man. I'm on the same view. A lot of people are like, "Oh, does it come under Hinduism?" I'm like, "No, they're different." Like,
They're
but
different.
I think it makes it easier for us to relate to somebody rather than being a minority.
The bias of association कि
Yeah.
कुछ चीज़ समझने में आसानी हो जाती है. किसी को अगर जैनिज्म के बारे में नहीं पता है तो आप हिंदुइज्म बोल दो तो कुछ चीज़ें इजीली एसोसिएट हो जाती है. बट आई थिंक वो अगेन ईस्टर्न एसेंस रहा ही है कि वो इसी तरीके से पैरेलली डेवलप हुए होंगे. मुझे ऐसा लगता है बहुत ही डिस्टिंक्ट है दोनों अपने अपने तरीकों में. सो आई थिंक दे आर a few aspects of each other might be influenced or adopted. Why influenced? Why not carefully considered and adopted over time? But I think they are two individual, self-sustaining, enlightening, empowering code of conducts in themselves.
So, what about the tattoo? Right? It's a tattoo only, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Do you want to discuss what it means? Because it looks very nice.
Yeah,
Something deep also.
It's actually Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava. So I think this is a tattoo that my father has exactly on his right hand ka wrist. And one day I decided that I'm going to also have this because I actually saw him practicing this. So I was like, ये तो मैं भी practice करूँगा. And that's the story behind it. I was like, यार वो बोलते ना कि कुछ, if you want to live something, a good way to manifest this is to write it. So I perhaps got it imprinted only, मतलब made it a part of my mortal body. I was like, हाँ यार, I mean, this is something good. This is nice. ये हम कर सकते हैं. ये हमको करना भी चाहिए. This is what I feel. And
पापा का भी सही होते हैं भाई.
So he had it and I was like, मैं exactly यही बनवाऊंगा और यहीं पे बनवाऊंगा. And yeah, I got it done one fine day and I think it's क्या बोलते हैं? I don't think it's a reminder only. I think it permeates into my blood, flesh, bones, cells.
वो blood में ही है. वो तीन layer अंदर होते हैं.
हाँ यार, तो just felt like getting it done and I did it.
I think it's very important to have that relationship be very pure with your parents, especially the father and mother are the source relationships of anyone's life, right? Father, that kind of relationship, how it impacts you is, finances and career. Usually you realize a lot of fathers shout at their sons more than they do shout at their daughters, right? At least to the sons, I can tell one thing: when they're shouting, is their love for them to do better. They want the kids to do better. And mother is actually a source for compassion in your relationships. The better the relationship you have with your mother, the better your relationship with your spouse, your friends, your business partners, to generate compassion towards them. To even have the ability to view them with compassion. Forget having it, to see them like...
I think they're very important relationships. And I think your parents, for that matter, whether you have a very good or a bad or an ugly experience with them, I'm not saying they are best relationships. I'm saying they are important relationships.
Yeah.
They shape your character also because I think even at the age of 30, 35, you imbibe what your parents are doing. I think there's this invisible transfer of data behavior that happens एंड आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज लिमिटेड टू सम एज कि 4 साल तक ही बच्चा आपको देख के सीखेगा, बच्चा आजीवन आपको देख के सीखेगा.
Yeah.
They will imbibe your traits for as long as there is any interaction between you all. So even if you're 35 and your father's 60 or your mother's 65, you're still going to very unconsciously still derive from them, embed certain traits and qualities that you're seeing in them. They're very important relationships is what I know. They can shape your worldview, they can shape your good, bad, ugly, and I think there is a sanctity to it, and I think again that's a very beautiful thing to have, irrespective of what it does to you.
I'm so glad you're so conscious about it because you're gonna be a father soon.
Yeah,
Right? No jinxing it.
That's
All
true.
good
That's
energy,
true.
right?
Yeah.
Right? All's well. You know, a lot of time, one thing we don't realize about parents is they're also parents for the first time.
Yeah.
Like they don't they don't know how to be parents,
Yeah.
right? And they're not conscious about their commitment towards us. Sometimes a lot of parents shout and then maybe hit also, right? But actually they are not finding a way to express their love in a very concise manner, which is impactful or effective. It's impactful. You have scars and shit,
Effective, yeah.
but then it's not effective, right?
So I think it is a learning of a lifetime. I think any relationship or any role that you newly acquire in your life, I think there is no set method. There is a way that you live your life that can be your example, right?
I mean, you'll know now, brother, because now you're gonna have a kid,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
now
that's
you'll
true.
see a real like full-on love coming out because there's.
That's true.
And one advice though, right? Have you seen this? Not advice. One thing I want to say to you, like when you have your baby, right? When it's born, like hold it to your chest, bare chest.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah. Body, skin to skin, something. Yeah, it's called. I've been reading up on all of that stuff. Yeah.
Don't skip that part.
Haan.
Go inside
I know.
and hydrate before going inside.
Yeah, is it?
We don't want you to.
नहीं सही है यार, सही है. I think it makes sense. But yeah, I just want to close this with, because we spoke about parents and all of that. I have this another theory that I believe in is I feel that no man is self-made. No man, even the people who claim they are self-made, is because I don't think there's enough gravitas or understanding, holistic understanding about the subject, because I think what will shape me as a father is what I saw my father doing and what my father saw his father doing, and the sacrifices that today, if I look at fatherhood in a particular manner, it is because of how I perceived my father's version of being a father, and my grandfather, the way he brought up my father, the sacrifices they made, and who are we? Eventually, a consolidation of everything negative that our forefathers try to remove from ourselves and from our lives, and eventually we become this best version of ourselves, who's an all-accomplishing, ever-achieving person that he is. But what made that possible? Maybe generations of sacrifice, generations of sticking to your principles and whatnot. So, well, you can say that a person is self-made, but the gravitas of it is that it has taken a lot of effort running down generations for you to have the character, the integrity, the strength, the courage, the vision, the ambition that you have, the dreams that you look to fulfill. And that's why I think our ancestors, our forefathers, whether they're in the present today or not, they have a lot to do with everything that we achieve in life. So I think this notion of self-made is also notion. I think it's a mithya, usko keh sakte, like it's a false notion. But I think we are made up of so many factors, circumstances, and people.
Wow, man, this is a wider view to look at it, because I was just thinking about this life, the moment I was born and post that, like the traumas we carry, the traumas we are responsible for, even our parents passing our trauma to us
आप
to heal
सोचो ना,
it.
आप लॉयर बने ना, से फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपके दादाजी को शायद एजुकेशन नहीं मिला होगा, एग्जाम्पल
पापा को भी नहीं मिला.
उन्होंने सोचा पापा से करवाएंगे और उस टाइम पे सिचुएशन ने परमिट नहीं किया होगा. बट आज आपको एजुकेशन को लेके इतनी सीरियसनेस क्यों आई? Because of what transpired 50 years in time is why they were so conscious that he has to get the best education. So that shaped the influence they had on your life, right? So just imagine, without that, it's a chain of events. that leads to
ना
something.
अभी पापा को जाके सॉरी बोलना पड़ेगा वापस कि कितना arrogant हूँ.
I think self-made थोड़ा सा egocentric concept है.
It's
अगर
missing
हम
a lot of
nuance को समझें.
gratitude. You know, like when I do have my breakdowns, right? I tell myself one thing. I say I have an amazing family. My sister's good. I have nephews, right?
जी.
So I come back to that. I'm like, my health is not bad. You know, everything's going well. Like I do have money in my bank. So I'm like, hey, I have a roof. I
It's
have
all
good
a culmination of something.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
you don't ever function in this world on your own, right?
हाँ बहुत सही.
You always have, like every time we do meet, and I remember you reached out on a voice note to me like, how are you, right? I'm like, hey man, that's so sweet, because you just reached out to me out of nowhere to ask me how I am, and we are not even connected. That's what life is about, right? To actually look beyond yourself.
Or within yourself. Like there are two ways to look at it, no?
Yeah.
But I mean, everything said and done, I think eventually, I think we can strive to be better versions of ourselves because we are honest with ourselves. तो उतना तो है कि भाई हम दुनिया देश समाज का भला करें ना करें, अपना कर लेंगे तो शायद वो मैनिफोल्ड हो ही जाएगा वो इफेक्ट, एंड यू विल स्टार्ट इम्पैक्टिंग थिंग्स अराउंड यू इन अ गुड वे. हाँ, I think that's what it is.
I think that's the end.
Super.
Right? we like,
Super.
I don't know how long this went for, but this was awesome, man.
It was good.
This was authentic. This
Yeah.
was spontaneous, like you said it. I felt I was underprepared, but I'm good now. I think we had a fruitful conversation. I'll have to look back and see what we actually spoke about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming. So everybody, like, share, subscribe to our channel. Give us comments, right? Leave comments. Tell us if things, what you like, what you don't like. We're very open to it. We're also starting fresh. So we love all your views, positive or negative. Every reaction is accepted. Go on. Feel free.